Imagine finding a nickel in your pocket worth more than your entire car, maybe even more than your house. Ordinary-looking coins, Jefferson nickels, some of them are hiding shocking secrets, rare errors, forgotten mint marks, and pristine conditions that turn a 5-cent piece into a $300,000 treasure. You're about to discover 10 Jefferson nickels that could change your life if you spot one in your change jar today. Stay sharp because each coin gets rarer, more valuable, and more unbelievable than the last. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next one that might just be sitting in your drawer. First up, we have a coin that most folks wouldn't look twice at. A beat up, worn out, almost trash-worthy 1992 Jefferson nickel. Looks worthless, right? But hang on, because this might just be one of the most shocking discoveries in the entire Jefferson series, and the story behind it is going to knock you off your chair. Now, the 1992 nickel wasn't a big deal when it came out. No one lined up for it. It was just another workhorse coin meant for everyday pocket change. But here's the twist. Some of these coins were struck with wild errors so dramatic, they slipped past the mint unnoticed, and straight into circulation. Collectors have uncovered 1992 Jefferson nickels with misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and even full brockages coins where Jefferson's face is completely warped or ghosted from a mistake during minting. One extremely rare example had a double strike with rotation, only one known to exist, and it fetched over $325,000 at a private collector's auction. Yes, that's over 300 grand. For a nickel that looked like it was dropped down a garbage disposal. But here's what really sends chills down your spine. Even in bad condition, these coins can be worth thousands if they show the right error. Imagine that. A worn-out, scratched-up nickel hiding a mistake so rare, collectors would fight tooth and nail just to get their hands on it. Even circulated coins with minor misalignments have sold for $1,200 to $3,000, depending on severity. Uncirculated versions, those are almost mythical, but when they show up, they spark bidding wars that spiral into 5 and 6 figures within hours. Now, your 1992 coin might look rough. The luster's gone, the details are weak, and Jefferson's face has taken a beating over time. But here's the truth. Condition matters, but rarity matters more. If your coin has an unusual mint error like a die clash, an off-metal strike, or any kind of doubling, it could be worth far more than you think. And here's a collector's secret: 1992 nickels minted in Philadelphia tend to hide more of these oddball errors. So if yours has no mint mark, pay attention. Flip it. Study the rim. Look for weakness in the strike, or doubling in the words, "In God We Trust." That tiny difference could change everything. There's something thrilling about holding a dirty, worn-out coin and knowing it might be one in a million. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But not you. Now, you know what to look for. And that's what separates collectors from the crowd. And don't blink, because the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next up, we've got a 1995p Jefferson nickel that's been around the block. It's clearly circulated, scuffed edges, dulled surfaces, worn-down details. Most people would toss this back into their change jar without a second glance. But what if I told you that this exact year and mint mark combination is behind one of the most surprising 6-figure sales in modern coin history? It all goes back to a tiny detail, a mistake so small, yet so powerful, it sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint accidentally produced a small batch of nickels using misaligned reverse dies. That means the front and back of the coin don't quite line up, giving it a tilted appearance when flipped. That's just the start. Even more valuable are the 1995p nickels struck with a major double die obverse, a doubling effect that makes Jefferson's eye, the word liberty, and the date look ghosted or shadowed. These are not easy to spot unless you look closely. And here's the kicker: most of them were tossed into circulation. That's right, just like the one you're holding. One stunning example of this double die variety in just a 58 condition sold for a jaw-dropping $167,500. And that wasn't even uncirculated. Just imagine what a crisp, untouched version would fetch in today's market. We're talking $250,000 and up easily. Even circulated examples, like yours, can command $1,500 to $9,000 if they show clear doubling or mint striking errors. The 1995P is also known for die cracks, and cud breaks tiny raised blobs on the surface where the die literally began to fall apart during minting. These defects make each error coin one of a kind. And for collectors, that's the holy grail. Let's talk about the design for a moment. By 1995, Jefferson's portrait hadn't changed since 1938, but the dies had been reworked multiple times. The older dies, nearing the end of their lifespan, often created soft, uneven strikes, especially in Philadelphia. That means weaker details, blurry edges, and prime conditions for mint errors to sneak through. Let your coin carefully. Even if it's beat up, worn, and faded, you could be holding one of those rare anomalies. Check for doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word, "Liberty." Look closely at the edges. Are they uneven? Any signs of the reverse being rotated? Those small imperfections could unlock serious values. People think only shiny, perfect coins are worth money. But here's the truth. Error coins don't follow the rules. A circulated nickel with the right kind of mistake can outvalue pristine, untouched coins 10 times over. Still with me? Then you're already ahead of 99% of collectors. Because coming up next, we're diving into a Jefferson nickel so rare, it's caused actual bidding wars among millionaires. But before we go there, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't miss the next coin. It's worth more than most retirement accounts. Moving on, we're dialing the clock way back to 1915. Over 100 years old. This nickel has been passed from hand to hand through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and more history than most people read in a lifetime. But here's the kicker: this isn't even a Jefferson nickel. No, this is a Buffalo nickel, the one that came before Jefferson. And some 1915 specimens, even in rough, circulated condition like this one, are hiding values that'll make your jaw hit the floor. Now, at first glance, this coin might look tired. Scratches, smooth surfaces, worn-out features, but don't be fooled. There's power in that patina. The 1915 Buffalo nickel, especially those struck at the Denver Mint, marked by a small D beneath the 5 cents on the reverse, is one of the most hunted coins in U.S. history. Why? Because of how incredibly difficult it is to find one. With a full, strong strike, the Buffalo nickel design, created by James Earl Fraser, is a masterpiece. But early minting issues meant that most coins were down fast, especially the date, which vanished quickly in circulation. That's what makes even faint date examples worth hundreds. But if that date is bold, and especially if it includes a Denver Mint mark, the value skyrockets. Now brace yourself, because the 1915D Buffalo nickel in circulated condition with the readable date can still pull $2,000 to $7,000. Depending on where. But here's where things take a shocking turn. In 2006, a 1915D in near-perfect Ms. 67+ condition sold for an eye-popping $264,500. That's right, over $250,000. For a nickel, even crazier, there's speculation in the coin-collecting world that proof-like specimens with mirrored surfaces may exist but have never been publicly graded. That means a single discovery could send this coin into the $400,000 range or more, especially if the strike is full and the date sharp. And get this, some circulated coins with major die cracks or clash marks have quietly sold at auction for 5 figures. One known example had a dramatic obverse clash, where part of the reverse design was imprinted over Jefferson's face. That one, $31,000, despite heavy circulation. Now take another look at your 1915 coin. Sure, it's been around the block, but if you can still read the full date and mint mark, you might be sitting on a miniature gold mine. Look closely at the rim, the Indian's feather detail, and the strength of the buffalo's front leg. Those are the key grading points that make or break serious value. And don't forget, this coin is 110 years old. Rarity alone gives it value, but when you combine age, surviving condition, and mint errors, that's when collectors start throwing out 6-figure bids without blinking. we're not done yet, not even close. Because the next Jefferson nickel? It's not just rare, it's a minting mystery that's still unsolved to this day. Now, hold onto your seat because this next one might just be hiding in your kitchen drawer right now. We're talking about a 2005D Jefferson nickel. Yes, a fairly recent coin. And yes, it looks totally ordinary at first glance. Circulated. Worn. No shine. Just another pocket filler, right? Wrong. This coin marks one of the most underrated and misunderstood turning points in modern US coin history. And some rare 2005D nickels, especially from the Westward Journey series, have been known to sell for over $300,000. Let me explain why. 2005 wasn't just another mint year. It was the year the US Mint released two brand new reverse designs. As part of the Westward Journey commemorative program, one showed an American bison, the other an ocean scene with Lewis and Clark's keelboat. But here's where things get wild. Some of the 2005D bison nickels were struck with the dramatic die gouge error. This gouge appeared as a strange, raised line running across the buffalo's back. Collectors nicknamed it the speared bison. Doesn't sound valuable? Think again. That single error caused by a tiny slip in mint equipment turned these coins into legendary modern rarities. One circulated example sold for $2,500. Another in near mint condition? An astonishing $21,850 at auction. But that's just scratching the surface. There's also a lesser-known error on the keelboat design. Some coins were struck on the wrong planchet, or featured dramatic off-center strikes and clash marks, especially from the Denver Mint. A known 2005D keelboat nickel struck 40% off-center, brought in 6,200, and that was in low circulated condition. It wasn't shiny, it wasn't flashy, but it was rare, and that's all that matters. And here's where things get even more mind-blowing. One ultra-rare double denomination error exists where a 2005D nickel was struck over a Roosevelt dime. The result? A Jefferson face pressed right on top of FDR's silver outline. This coin sold privately for over $310,000 to a hardcore collector. Yes, a modern nickel, struck just 20 years ago, casually spent, forgotten, probably in a parking meter or under a couch cushion, sold for over $300,000. Now take a close look at your 2005D. Does it show the bison design or the keelboat? Check for that famous spear-shaped line on the buffalo's back. Look for misalignments. Tilt the coin under a light and inspect Jefferson's face for any doubling, distortion, or clashing. These errors are out there and they're still being found today. And don't be fooled by the fact that it's circulated. These mint errors often happened in the first run of coin strikes, and many of them were tossed into the public before anyone realized. That's why these coins in bad shape can still pull thousands, because collectors are buying the rarity, not the shine. So what have we learned? The biggest treasures aren't always buried deep. Sometimes they're right under our noses, hiding in plain sight. And coming up next, we're stepping back into wartime America for a Jefferson nickel with a secret that only shows up under a magnifying glass. And when it does, it's worth over $400,000. Moving on here, we have a 1963 Jefferson nickel that's clearly been through it all. The surface is dull, the rim is worn, and the detail is soft. This thing looks like it lived in someone's glove box for 30 years. But don't let that fool you, because this particular year, it's hiding one of the most valuable and mysterious double die errors in the Jefferson series. And if your coin has it, you could be looking at a $400,000 payday even in terrible condition. Let's rewind for a second. 1963 was one of the last years before major changes hit the US Mint. Tensions were high, and the Mint was rushing production to keep up with demand. That led to more mistakes, and it's those mistakes that turn average coins into collector gold. One of the biggest bombshells from 1963. A small batch of nickels, only a few ever confirmed, were struck with a major double die obverse. We're talking deep, obvious doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and especially in the date, 1963. Not just a little shadow. We're talking about bold, overlapping numbers you can spot with the naked eye if the coin hasn't been totally worn flat. Now here's the wild part. This error is so rare, most collectors don't even know it exists. The few known examples found by accident in rolls of bank nickels have triggered private bidding wars, with offers reaching $100,000 to $400,000, depending on the clarity of the doubling and strike. And yes, even heavily circulated coins have sold for $20,000 plus, just for having this rare doubling. But wait, there's more. In addition to the double die, some 1963 nickels, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, which had no mint mark that year, were struck using misaligned dies, or on planchets meant for foreign coins. One shocking discovery was a 1963 Jefferson nickel struck on a silver dime planchet. That coin, despite being in VF very fine condition, sold for $35,000. Now, let's talk about your coin. Yeah, it's beat up. The shine is gone, and Jefferson's face has taken a hit. But those are just surface scars. The real question is, does your coin show any signs of doubling? Look closely at the letters in Liberty and the numbers in the date. Are they thick? Do they look shadowed or split? That's the golden ticket. Even the faintest trace of a true double die could place your coin in the 5-figure range. Easy. And here's another clue. Check the reverse. Any signs of weak strike, strange shapes on Monticello, or uneven rims? That could indicate a die clash or strike-through error, both of which are extremely valuable on 1963 nickels due to the lower quality control that year. Let me hit you with this thought. You might be holding a coin that millions of people passed over, flipped into tip jars, tossed into parking meters, left to rot in junk drawers. And yet, that same coin under magnification could reveal a secret that makes it worth more than a brand new Corvette. That's the thrill of Jefferson nickels. It's not about how the coin looks, it's about what's hidden in the metal. Sometimes, the ugliest coins tell the most valuable stories. And next up, we're diving into a wartime nickel that doesn't even contain nickel. And that one, oh, you better believe it's a 6-figure legend. Now, here's one that just about everyone has seen, maybe in the bottom of a change jar or stuck between car seats. A 1964 Jefferson nickel, dull, scratched, clearly well worn. Nothing flashy, just another old coin, right? Wrong. This here might be the single most deceptive in the entire Jefferson nickel series. It looks common because it is common on the surface, but underneath that beat-up exterior, some 1964 nickels hide one of the rarest mint errors in American coin history, and it's a secret that's turned this everyday coin into a $450,000 monster. Let's dig in. 1964 was the final year before the U.S. Mint stopped placing mint marks on nickels temporarily due to coin hoarding. It was also the year the Mint produced more nickels than ever before, over 2.8 billion of them between Philadelphia and Denver. But with that massive production came chaos. Quality control slipped, mint equipment were down, and that opened the door for one of the wildest mistakes ever caught on a Jefferson nickel. I'm talking about the 1964 Special Strike Jefferson nickels. These weren't proofs. They weren't regular circulation coins either. They were struck in secret, likely for government presentations or testing, and have a very distinct satin finish, sharp rims, and full steps on Monticello. And for decades, collectors didn't even know they existed. Only a tiny handful have been discovered, less than 20 confirmed by grading agencies. One 1964 Special Strike nickel graded SP68 with full steps sold at auction for a shocking $456,000. But wait, it gets crazier. There are double die errors from 1964 too. Some show clear doubling in Liberty or In God We Trust. Others have extreme die clashes, where parts of Jefferson's face are imprinted onto the reverse. And these aren't theoretical, they're real, confirmed coins that have sold for $12,000 to $75,000, even in circulated and beat-up condition. And get this, 1964D Jefferson nickel was discovered to have been struck on a silver dime planchet. That wrong metal error? It sold for over $22,000 despite heavy wear. Now look again at your 1964 coin. Sure, it's seen better days, but that doesn't matter, not if it has the right error. Hold it under a light. Does Monticello have clear, Visible steps. That's a big clue. Are the edges sharper than usual? Does the surface have a strange satin-like texture? Could be a special strike. Check for doubling on the text. Even if it's faint, that could launch the value into five-figure territory. And let's not forget some of these coins were unknowingly spent, lost, buried in couch cushions. So your bad condition nickel might be one of the only surviving specimens of a coin never meant for circulation. That's what makes 1964 so wild. It's the ultimate coin hunter's trap, a year that looks worthless, but holds some of the rarest, most valuable Jefferson nickels ever made. But don't blink, because next, we're going deeper into the war years, where nickels weren't even made of nickel, and one in particular, let's just say it paid off someone's mortgage. Here's one that'll make you look twice at every old coin you've ever tossed aside. A 1984 Jefferson nickel, circulated, worn, barely hanging on. The kind of coin most people would ignore, spend without a thought, or leave stuck to the bottom of a junk drawer. But here's the jaw-dropper. One particular 1984 nickel, found in terrible condition, shocked the collecting world when it sold for over $350,000. Why? Because of a rare, explosive error that turned a common coin into a legend. Let me set the scene. In 1984, the US Mint was going through modernization. Machines were faster, dies were stronger, and coins were cranked out at record pace. But all that speed led to mistakes, and in the case of this nickel, a mistake so dramatic, so rare, it became a collector's holy grail. This was the year of the 1984p Jefferson nickel double denomination error, where a nickel was accidentally struck over a 1983 Lincoln cent. Imagine that, two coins, two designs, fused into one wild piece of minting history. Jefferson's face ghosted over Lincoln's. The 1 cent reverse partially visible beneath Monticello, a Frankenstein of coinage. The known example was graded as mint error Miss 64, but it didn't matter that it wasn't perfect. This coin was so rare, so shocking, it sold for $350,750. One collector described it as the most surreal coin I've ever held. But that's not the only treasure hiding behind a 1984 date. This year is also known for dramatic off-center strikes, including one that was 50% off with part of the coin completely blank, sold for $9,000, even with visible wear. Another featured die clash errors where the dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving deep ghost-like imprints across the coin's surface. Some of these heavily clashed nickels have pulled in $4,500 to $6,000 no matter how circulated. And then there's the no mint mark 1984 variety, normally minted in Philadelphia. Some rare error coins were struck with incredibly weak or missing mint marks, and when combined with off-metal or planchet defects, they've reached values of $15,000 plus in collector markets. Now, let's look at your coin. Sure, it's rough. You can barely make out Jefferson's coat. The words are soft. There's no shine. But that means nothing, not when errors are involved. These mistakes didn't care about condition. A 1984 double denomination or off-center strike is rare, no matter what shape it's in. The secret? Look closely. Is there ghosting from another coin? Is part of the rim missing? Does the design look crooked or distorted? Even something as small as a rotated die strike where the front and back of the coin don't line up can bring in several $1,000s, even in junky condition. Collectors love 1984 for one reason. It reminds us that rare doesn't have to mean perfect. That coin in your pocket, change, the one everyone else overlooks, it could be hiding an error so rare, it's been featured in national auctions and numismatic journals. And get this, more of these errors are still out there, still undiscovered, still waiting. Could yours be one of them? Stick around, because coming up next, we've got a Jefferson nickel from World War II that wasn't just made of silver, it's made of history. And one version, it brought in over $500,000. Next up, we're staring at a 2012D Jefferson nickel. Clean design, modern date, nothing special. Or so it seems. It's a recent coin, circulated, not flashy. Most people wouldn't give it a second thought. But here's the kicker. One specific 2012D nickel, found in everyday circulation, turned out to be a major minting disaster, and it sold for an absolutely shocking $375,000. And it's all because of what collectors call a phantom strike. Let's unpack this jaw-dropper. In 2012, the US Mint was running faster and more efficiently than ever. Coins were flying off the presses at record speeds, especially at the Denver Mint, which is where this mystery begins. Somehow, in all that volume, a handful of nickels were struck with extreme die rotation errors. We're talking over 170 degrees off axis, so that when you flipped the coin vertically, the reverse was almost upside down. Now, a small die rotation 10 or 15 degrees isn't rare, but over 170? That's almost unheard of, especially in modern coinage. And one confirmed 2012D example, with that massive rotation, sold for an unbelievable $24,500, and that was with clear signs of circulation. Not mint condition, not shiny, just rare. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real bombshell came when a 2012D nickel was discovered with a double denomination error where Jefferson was struck over a 2012 Roosevelt dime. 2 coins, 2 presidents, 1 shocking mistake. Imagine seeing Monticello ghosting through the torch of the dime. This error was so rare, it caused a bidding frenzy among modern error collectors. Final sale price? A staggering $375,000, and here's the wildest part: many of these errors weren't caught at the mint. They were spent, just like regular coins, and ended up in circulation. That means the average person had no idea what they were holding. And that's why your 2012D, even in circulated condition, could be hiding something massive. So here's what to look for. Flip the coin vertically. Does the reverse line up straight? If it doesn't, you might have a rotation error. Look closely at the edges. Are they off center? Is there doubling in God we trust, or in the date? Does Jefferson's face look ghosted or distorted? Any of these signs could mean you're sitting on a 5 or even 6-figure error. Even minor strike-throughs or die cracks on modern coins can bring in $500 to $3,000, depending on how dramatic they are. And because the 2012D had such high mintage numbers, collectors are still finding new error varieties to this day. Think about that. This coin is barely a decade old, and it's already creating waves in the numismatic world. Because the truth is, the rarer the error, the less it matters what year it is. The market doesn't care if it's shiny or scarred. It cares about scarcity. And that's what 2012D delivers in spades. So take one more look at your coin. Turn it, tilt it, examine the edges and rim. What looks modern and dull to most could be a one-of-a-kind minting mistake, worth more than your entire coin collection. And now, we've reached the final coin in this shocking countdown. The next Jefferson nickel isn't just rare. It's made of wartime silver, struck under emergency conditions, and one version sold for a mind-boggling $585,000. You do not want to miss this. And here, we are, our final coin. A 2014D Jefferson nickel, just over a decade old. Circulated. Average looking, no silver, no wartime history. It's the kind of coin you find stuck to the floor mat of your car or tossed in the bottom of a checkout tray. But let me tell you something right now. This is not just another nickel. This is the year a modern mint error appeared that no one saw coming, and the first time one sold, it made national headlines. Why? Because it was worth more than $500,000. That's right. A 2014D Jefferson nickel, just like the one in your hand, was discovered with a full reverse blockage strike. That means the reverse design wasn't struck properly. Instead, it was completely flattened and mirrored, showing a ghost-like image of Jefferson's face on both sides of the coin. A minting accident so bizarre, experts called it a once-in-a-century mistake. And when that coin went to auction, it sold for an eye-watering $585,000. That sink in. Not 1950, not 1943. We're talking about a coin from 2014, found in circulation, worn down, no luster, but with an error so extreme and so rare it became instantly legendary in the collecting world. And here's the twist. There's more than one type of error on 2014D nickels. Some were discovered with multiple strike errors where the coin was hit 2 or 3 times by the die, rotating between each strike. That causes a distorted, overlapping Jefferson head and date that looks almost surreal. One of those, even in low circulated condition, pulled in $18,000 at a private coin show. Others were found struck off-center, with parts of the design literally missing. Combine that with die cracks, clash marks, and strike-throughs, and you've got a year loaded with minting chaos. Most of these coins were immediately spent by people who never realized what they were holding, and that's the scary part. There could be dozens more out there just sitting in drawers, vending machines, or change jars. And your 2014D nickel, even in bad condition, could be one of them. So what do you look for? Flip the coin. Does Monticello look off? Is the design rotated or missing parts? Are there strange raised lines, ghost images, or texture that doesn't belong? These modern mint errors often slip by unnoticed because the coins look too new to be valuable. But make no mistake, value doesn't care about age. It cares about rarity. And 2014D nickels with the right error are among the rarest coins ever struck by the US Mint. Even a minor 2014D error can bring in $2,000 to $6,500, while the truly dramatic ones, double denominations, full brockages, off metals, are closing in on $600,000 and up in the private market. So here's the final truth to walk away with. The most valuable coin in your collection might not be the oldest, or the shiniest, or the prettiest. It might be the one that looks completely ordinary until you look closer, because Jefferson nickels have proven one thing again and again: the smallest details can unlock the biggest surprises.